Hi, my name is Ricardo, and in this video I want to talk about 3 ways to keep your board inspired. Now, you might be thinking, this guy needs a spelling check. Actually, that title was deliberate. And let me just give you some context as to how we got to these 3 lessons. Now, I've conducted some research study, and the focus of the study was what inspirational lessons can board members extract from spiders. Now, clearly, that topic has not been researched, so there was clearly a need to do so. That's why I decided to conduct the study. Now, in terms of the research methodology, this was an online survey that was conducted with key informants in which they were asked to express their insights into a visual depiction. And after they've given their insights, a data analysis was conducted, and these 3 key findings came about because of this research. Very important research, but I must say that it is not scientific, it is experimental of nature. Even though, once you've done your own analysis, you may find that, well, there's some scientific value attached to it. It's not scientific. With the scientific jargon out of the way, let's explain how this worked practically. So I actually posted a picture on Facebook with the caption, "Spot the spider." Now, this was a picture of a tree, the one that you see now, and hidden on that picture was a spider. And so I've asked the Facebook friends, or let's call them the key informants, if they could spot the spider. Now, some came back and said they could. Others said no. The one said, well, actually the spider left the picture. Others said, no, we couldn't. And then eventually I pointed out where the spider is, and somebody, one of the international key informants said that, wow, that looks scary. Now, the one that, or one of the ones that spotted the spider was actually a detective. And that just gives you an idea as to the diversity of this key informant group that participated in this elaborate study. At the time, they didn't know that, they participated in an actual study. So that's why I don't want to mention their names. They thought they were just posting on Facebook. But there are some key lessons to be learned out of this process for non-profit organization board members. Now, how this happened was when my daughter told me about the spider, and she wanted to show the spider to me on the tree. And she must have pointed to the spider about 5 times, saying, "Daddy, there's a spider." I could not see the spider. She could see it. Eventually, when I saw the spider, I was like, wow, this is like interesting. And so I had a discussion afterwards with a colleague of mine, and these lessons came out of this this whole research study that was conducted. I thought the first lesson that was important is under the whole issue of risk management. And the question really for me is that, and I guess for board members is also, what risks and opportunities are you not seeing, right? Risk management is about risks and opportunities. And the question is, what risks and opportunities are you not seeing? Now, we all have blind spots. Like in this context, I couldn't see the spider, and a lot of people couldn't see it. But there are some people who could see the spider, right? So, linked to the first question is, who on your team is in a position to see some of the risks and opportunities that you are not able to see? Because others can see, perhaps, what you cannot see. So who are those people? Now, when you answer that, the third question is, how do you engage with those people on your team who are able to see things differently compared to you? Sometimes we don't see stuff and we assume those opportunities, those risks are not there. And in reality, it's right there, but we can't see it. But our ability to see and to observe is significantly improved with the assistance of others. And there's actually a phrase that's being used in the airline industry, and it's called crew resource management. Now, that's one of the components that has made the airline industry one of the safest travel industries in the world. They've adopted this concept, and it originated, I think, in the 1960s. One example where this was now, where it came about was when an airplane, one of the engines on the plane broke down. In fact, it caught fire. The captain couldn't see which engine caught fire, so he turned off the one that he assumed was on fire, and that was actually the wrong engine. Now, the crew members, they could see, because they could see out of the window of the plane, but they didn't communicate that to the captain, because that was not practice in the industry for the crew members to communicate these faults to the captain. So as a result, the captain turned off the engine that was working perfect, and as a result, there were no working engines as they were about to approach the runway. And actually, the plane crashed. And one of the concepts that came about after this accident, after they've done the air crash investigation, is the need to rely more on the crew members and for also to communicate that. And in the same way, when we look at our organizations, it's important that we embrace this concept of crew resource management. Within the organization, the board members may not always be in a position to identify all the risks and opportunities, but it's important that the board must engage those involved with the organization, whether it's the staff members, the volunteers, or other stakeholders, to help you, to assist you in identifying the risks and opportunities within the organization. Second lesson that I've learned in this research process is the fact that this spider, even though it was for the most part invisible to me, it was potentially potent. So there's not a lot of glamour and excitement about governance. For the most part, it's hidden. The work that the board does, it's almost behind the scenes, it's hidden. I know there's a lot of focus now on governance, but I'll find with organizations rarely that they advertise and report on the governance work that's being done within the organization. It's more about the activities, and actually there's this potential potency within the governance of the organization to just put the organization on a different platform, to raise the awareness of the organization significantly. When I saw that spider that was for a moment hidden to me, when eventually I saw that, immediately there was that awareness, there's a spider in this tree, and I need to be careful. So that awareness was raised at that particular time. And in the same way, with your organization, governance work might be behind the scenes, but at some point, someone may see that actually this organization pays attention to governance, and that may create that awareness for the organization. The last lesson that I've drawn from this exercise is from the perspective of the spider. Now, like your organization might be like operating in a remote rural village. It might be invisible for the most part, right? That's not necessarily a disadvantage. In the context of this spider, the fact that it was mostly invisible, it's actually an advantage for the spider. It's exactly how it's supposed to operate, because in that way, its prey, the food, will be attracted to the spider. And at some point, the food will stumble across that spider, right? So its resources will actually come across its path unwittingly. Now, That's not by mistake, it's by design. That is the way it's supposed to operate. Even though the spider is invisible, it's that way by design, and in that way it will sustain itself. Now, in the same way with your organization, it might not be visible to the whole world, but if you focus on governance, at some point, someone will notice the organization. And as you invest in governance, your ability to mobilize resources for the organization will increase significantly. Focus on what others do not necessarily see, what's invisible often within the organization. Be consistent, be patient in terms of expanding your governance capacity within the organization. And that, in my view, would ultimately elevate the awareness of the organization, and it will increase your influence, your potency in terms of, reaching your objective within the organization. Someone, somewhere will notice the organization, and your awareness, the awareness of the organization will exponentially increase. So I hope these 3 lessons will be beneficial to the organization, to the governing board. And if you like it, please click the like button, share it, and thank you so much for having watched this video.